Hey, Mila Falcher, welcome to Irish Granny Helen. Welcome back to my little nostalgic journey down memory lane and old Hollywood. This is a combination of silent film memories and murder. So stick around. It's an interesting story. And eventually, Deborah Lupien and I will be pursuing it a little more. So I want to talk about Ramon Novarro. Such a handsome young man. He was born February 6, 1899. His name was Ramon Gil Samaniego. I hope that's right. He was born in Mexico. His family fled Mexico in 1913 during the Revolution. They went to LA. And his family had been in Mexico since the 1600s. They were originally from Castile. So they were some of the very, very first who came over to the New World. His grandfather had been a doctor. Before that, he was the governor of the state of Chihuahua in Mexico. He was also, because they fled, the first city councilman of El Paso, Texas. His father was a dentist. He went to the University of Pennsylvania. After he graduated as a dentist, he returned to Mexico to Durango and opened a dental practice. He married the daughter of a rich landowner. She was part Spanish and part Aztec. So imagine that family history. The family estate was called the Garden of Eden. They had 13 children. So he was one of 13 kids. He had 12 siblings. 3 of his sisters became nuns. And his second cousin was the actress Dolores Del Rio. I had no idea. She went on to become very famous acting. She was in Hollywood, but she was a big star in Mexico. So he began his silent film career doing bit parts in 1917. He also worked as a waiter, a taxi dancer, and a taxi dancer is, usually women were taxi dancers, but young men did them too. They had, in the teens and 20s, they had these things called tea dances, and you'd go in the, early to mid-afternoon, and you could get tea. But also they would play music. There was a dance floor, and you could hire a member of the opposite sex, usually, to dance with you, to partner you for a dance. And so 10 cents a dance. And I think it was a famous movie made by Joan, oh my God, what's her name? She went on to be Mommy Dearest. Anyway, he was a taxi dancer, which meant that he danced with women, which was just a little bit scandalous. The word gigolo comes to mind. Okay. So he augmented his spotty acting career with waiting, taxi dancing. And he eventually became noticed. He was kind of similar to Rudolph Valentino, that kind of Latin lover is what it was called. And the studio created this phony competition between them. He was Rudolph Valentino's rival in Hollywood. And he had changed his name at some point along the way from Samaniego to Novarro. His first big hit was in a movie version of the book Scaramouche in 1923. This is from the book by Sabatini. It's this convoluted, ridiculous story of nobility and semi-nobility, intrigue, kind of castle intrigue, right before the French Revolution. His greatest success was in 1925 in Ben-Hur. He was a sensation because of the revealing costumes. You know, they were running around in those kind of topless toga deals, all the leather and stuff, and he was quite the sensation. So Rudolph Valentino, of course, died tragically, and this kind of left the field open to Ramon Novarro. He became the leading Latin lover. He was a popular swashbuckler. He had all these romantic leads. He was the dark pirate, the mysterious stranger, the highwayman, you know, all the things. His first talkie was in 1929. He played a singing French soldier in a movie called Devil May Care. He always had that, you know, the appeal of the dark and mysterious. But in 1935, I don't know, I couldn't find what happened. I suspect he was no longer in the first blush of youth. It may have been that he didn't age well, you know, as he got a little tiny bit older. In 1935, he would have been 36. And maybe they just thought he was a little long in the tooth for romantic leads. Then I wonder about his private life, and we'll talk about that. I wonder if they knew that he was homosexual, and they were big on heterosexual appearances, and they pushed people together in what was called a lavender marriage. There were a number of those in Hollywood. I kind of wonder about that, and the fact that he was Mexican may have made it less appealing to them to force him to do that. So we'll see. So he acted sporadically. It became more and more sporadic. He worked mostly for Republic Pictures. He made movies all over the place. He made a Mexican drama, a French comedy, and he appeared on the stage in a variety show in England. So that was the 30s. In the 40s, he had a few small roles. In the 50s and the 60s, he was occasionally on television. So his peak success was in the 20s and the early 30s. And he would make as much as more than $100,000 a film. That was a big deal in those days. He was really smart with his money. He invested in Los Angeles real estate, and that was a gold mine. He bought Frank Lloyd Wright's son's house. So Frank Lloyd Wright had a son named Lloyd. Lloyd was also an architect. He designed a house for this other guy, and I'll explain to you what happened here. It was called the Samuel Novarro house, Samuel-Novarro house. So this house was in Los Feliz in the Hollywood Hills. It's now been turned into the Los Angeles Historical Cultural Monument. It's this weird kind of boxy, I don't know if it's Bauhaus or not exactly Art Deco. I don't know. It's very boxy. Different levels of, I mean, that's hard to describe. The house was designed for Navarro's manager, Louis Samuel, in 1928. But in the process of this house being built, Novarro discovered that Samuel was embezzling money from him to pay for the house. So I don't know if they went to court, it didn't say, but they took ownership. He took ownership in 1931. It's described as an Art Deco style. I suppose, I don't know. I don't know all that much about architecture, but to me it's a little severe for Art Deco, but maybe I didn't see enough of a picture, whatever. He moved in the late 30s. And meanwhile, he continued to buy property and real estate around Los Angeles. Very smart investments. A lot of famous people lived in that house. He didn't stay in it. He moved out and had another house. He sold it. In 1988, Diane Keaton bought it, and she paid $1.5 million for it, which seems laughable now because it was on the market in 2019 for $4.3 million. But because he invested wisely, he maintained a comfortable lifestyle when his career kind of petered out. He was a lifelong alcoholic, and the suspicion is that he had a real internal struggle his whole entire life. He was gay. It was not really accepted publicly. And then, in the world of the arts, it was a little more accepted, but he was also very strictly raised as a Roman Catholic. So he had this terrible internal battle going on between his religious upbringing and his self. And he drank. But he didn't drink. His drinking didn't put him in the gutter. He was well situated financially, but he was also a lonely person. I've read elsewhere that he just, really led a solitary life. He was romantically involved with a variety of different people over the years, kind of on the down low. And it depended on, as his career elevated, the kind of person that he got involved with kind of rose in class structure. Not class, but, I'll explain. When he was really young, just breaking into Hollywood in early 1920s, he had a boyfriend who was an usher for the LA Philharmonic. But as his Hollywood career blossomed, he split up. And then he got involved with a journalist, Herbert Howe. And then he became like a real hot property, and he got involved with a guy called Noel Sullivan, who was a wealthy San Francisco philanthropist. But something terrible happened to Ramon Novarro. He was murdered on October 30th, 1968, in his home by two brothers, Paul and Tom Ferguson. One was 22, one was 17. They were what's politely referred to as rent boys. So what happened was Novarro, as I said, was a very lonely person. He would hire male companionship and, call up, and there was a business, and that they would send men to his house. At the time, he had a house in Laurel Canyon. Now, he didn't call the Fergusons, the two brothers. They called him. And it's suspected that they got his phone number by snooping around, because they did work in this profession, but they approached him. And they were working under the assumption that he was rich and famous, and he kept a whole lot of money at home. So he had them come up to his house, and they started poking around, and there was a confrontation. And for hours they stayed there. They held him prisoner. They tortured him. They beat him. And he ended up choking on his own blood. They didn't get anything from him. He didn't have anything in the house. They left with a $20 bill they found in the pocket of his robe. Just really sad. So they were caught, and I don't know, probably the name was lying around the house. They were caught, they were convicted, and I don't know if it was because of their age or because it was considered a gay on gay crime and therefore not really worthy of a whole lot of attention. I'm extrapolating here given the tenor of the time, but they ended up not spending very much time in prison. And they got so that happened in 68. They got released on parole in the early 70s. But they both got rearrested for other crimes, and they spent longer in prison for those crimes than they did for killing Novarro. Tom died in March of 2005, so 21 years ago, at his own hand. And his brother Paul was killed in prison in 2018, serving a 60-year sentence for crime against persons that start with the letter R. Novarro was buried at Calvary Cemetery in East LA, and he has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And I'm hoping to talk with him when I meet again with Deborah. We're planning on getting together here in the next small amount of time. And I should have something for you about that soon. So if you have suggestions of people that you would like us to look into, let me know. And thanks. I appreciate you watching Slanga Foil. Slancha.